Good evening, everybody. I'll call the meeting to order. If you'd stand for the pledge, please. Missy, you want to do roll call?
Libby, Brian,
Here.
Tanya,
Here.
Sean,
Here.
Britt.
Here.
We have a quorum. We need to consider any meeting agenda changes. I don't think we have any of those. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes of November 17th.
A motion to approve the minutes from November 17th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay. So we'll start off with old business. The council will consider the second reading of ordinance 2025-11B, a rezone from R3.5 to PUD of approximately 45.15 acres between 200 West and Fortville Pike, north of the Fortville Elementary School by MI Homes. Adam.
All right. Good evening. For the record, I'm Adam Zaklikowski, the Planning and Building Director for the town. If you recall, this was before you for first reading last month, and then it subsequently went to the Planning Commission. And in November, late November, it received a unanimous positive recommendation. I won't get into the nitty gritty unless you have any questions on these things. I think there's just a few things that I wanted to point out. Since you're the legislative body and you're actually making the decision on the rezone itself, I wanted to go through quickly the criteria per Indiana code that you're at least asked to consider as part of your decision if you ultimately approve this. So the first one is it consistent with the comprehensive plan? It is. Second one is it consistent with the current conditions and character of the current structures? And I'd say no with an asterisk because the property is currently undeveloped farmland. However, new proposed housing would be consistent with new zoning. Number three, is it consistent with the most desirable use of the land? I'd say yes. Number four, is it consistent with the conservation of property values in the area? I'd say yes. That the stringent development standards established in the PUD will help to ensure high property values. And then lastly, is it consistent with responsible growth and development? I would say yes. If you recall, this project is near an existing subdivision, and given these standards in the PUD, it should be of high quality. There were just a couple of items that I wanted to bring up that came up at the Plan Commission. The first one had to do with the the donation language regarding park space in the neighborhood. And I don't recall what we had at first reading. The language may have changed a bit, but this is the same as what the Plan Commission saw. So it says that a donation of $500 per lot shall be provided at the time of secondary plat approval to the Fortville Parks Department. And that fee shall be used towards capital improvements to a possible town-owned park in Mount Vernon North. The donation must be expended by the town within 2 years of receipt, or the developer may request a refund. And alternatively, the town may elect for the funds to be transferred to the Mount Vernon School Corporation for a recreational improvement on a school campus readily available for public use near the neighborhood. Then lastly, it goes on to say that if neither option is available, a recreational facility of at least $49,500, which is the impact fee total per lot, donation fee total, I should say, must be placed within the neighborhood. So it gives them a few different options. And the reason for it in this case was it's a pretty narrow, long piece of property. It doesn't really lend itself, unlike some of our other PUDs, to really large common area parks in the center of the subdivision. So this seemed to be the best way to ensure that they're providing the recreational space or funds in some fashion for the neighborhood. And then the other thing that came up at the Plan Commission too is that a driveway or a road connection may be provided to that Mount Vernon Loop Road based on a discussion between the developer and the school district. There's pros and cons to doing that. I mean, one nice thing is it does provide more access for emergency vehicles and for parents that are doing pickup. The only downside is, you could have basically a public street that is going out to a private driveway owned by the school district. So not to say that we couldn't overcome those things, but for purposes of the approval tonight, that question is still open, but they're committed to working with the school district on something that makes sense for everybody involved. And then, if you recall at first reading, and this came up, was discussed quite a bit at the Plan Commission meeting, like what some of our peer communities are doing, there is some concern about rentals, especially having an entire subdivision bought up by an investment company and converting them all to rentals off the bat. So the way that the developer has proposed to deal with this is through zoning commitments, which are attached. It's the last page in your packet. And it basically says that the owner, no owner, may rent or lease the owner's dwelling unit for transient or hotel purposes. Transient or hotel purposes means rental for a period of less than 30 days. And then it goes on to say that basically the dwelling unit can't be rented or leased for a period of at least 12 months from the last date of transfer or sale. I think it was discussed 24 months here, but at least and maybe they have some flexibility. It sounds like they may, but at least for what they have in writing here, they've got 12 months. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address them. And then the developers here, and they put a few slides together as well. Thank you.
Ready for me?
Yes.
Okay. Mic's a little close here. Good evening. My name is Dominic Dreyer. I am the Land Entitlement Manager with MI Homes. Thank you, Adam. Do have a short presentation here. It looks very similar to what you saw last month, so I'll go through it. But if you have any questions at the end or during, just please let me know. As Adam has brought up here, we've got a location map just so to remind everyone where we're talking. We're on the south side of Fortville. If you go to the next slide. To our south is the Mount Vernon School Corporation. Immediately to the south is the elementary school there. To the north, we have the Mount Vernon North PUD. Kind of northeast of us is the Byers Estates. And Mount Vernon Point is to our southeastern corner. I think I said southeastern corner, or northeastern is Byers Estates. And then around us, there's agricultural uses. There's other individual residential lots. So I think a residential PUD here makes a lot of sense for land use. It would go really well with it being so close to the school, fit in well with the other existing neighborhoods and neighborhoods that are being built out currently. Slide, please. And as your guys' comp plan shows, this site is slated in your future land use map for residential suburban use. So we are trying to fit within that same use. Next slide, please. So here's a satellite imagery with our site plan overlaid on it. Again, to the south of us is the school. To the north is Mount Vernon North. We would be providing an entrance. If you go one more slide, just okay, never mind. I thought it was a different slide. We do have an entrance on our eastern and western side, as well as we will stub into the street in Mount Vernon North where that's already existing. So I think as part of a connectivity concern or issue here, we are very connected with the other residential neighborhoods around us. We'll extend, sidewalk connectivity. So this will be just a very even more walkable area than it is today, and really give great access to the school campus to the south. You can go to the next slide. We are on about 45 acres. As Adam mentioned, this is a fairly deep parcel, so we were kind of limited in design, but we came out with a total of about 99 lots in the PUD. That would be the max amount of lots that we would be able to build. That puts our per unit density at about 2.2 dwellings per acre. Average lot size will just be north of 8,000 square feet. And with our ponds and other open area, we are at about 28% open space throughout the development. Our homes will range between 1,600 and over 3,000 square feet, providing a lot of different flexibility for people to choose what home best fits their family. Our estimated price will be $380,000 to $425,000, with probably an average sales price about $400,000. Here's some character examples of the homes that we'll be offering there. As you can see, there's a lot of different designs. We've got some ranches as well, 2 stories. I just have a note here that at about $400,000 average sales price, 99 homes, that puts our assessed value for the entire site just under $40 million. Next slide, please. As Adam mentioned, we have agreed to adding a commitment for a rental restriction. Obviously, this is very important to you all. I see you've got an item later on in your agenda talking about rental, maybe a rental ordinance coming down the pipeline. Adam went through it. We do have a short-term rental restriction, so you can't rent for less than 30 days, as well as a 12-month, you must own the home. So that goes from every transfer. It's not the first person we sell to. If they sold it again, they would have to wait 12 months before they would be able to rent their homes. And we see that as a way to kind of balance the interests. We're trying to meet your guys' goals of not, having a community day one being able to be bought up by an institutional investor. So we think a 12-month waiting period essentially is enough to keep those institutional investors away. They're not going to, sit on a house for 12 months to then be able to make it into a rental. We think we've seen success of similar provisions like this in other communities, and we think this would be a good deterrent. I know at first we had talked about a percentage. We thought this might even be better because day one, if it's a 10%, I think that's what was initially discussed, institutional investor could come in and just buy 10% and you'd have 10% rentals. So we see this as kind of a better way, as well as giving that homeowner, that property owner, future rights down the road if they do decide to their situation decides that they want to rent it. Just wanted to make a few notes here. So this is the staff report. As Adam went over, we think we've met the statutory criteria for our residential rezone. We did receive a favorable staff recommendation, as well as I'm proud to say a unanimous recommendation for approval from your planning commission. So very proud to be standing here today to. I think they saw that this is going to be a quality development that will really add to the town of Fortville. Next slide. And just to go over that, we though we were kind of, had our hands tied behind our back on how we could design the neighborhood, we think the way we did it was ended up becoming a thoughtfully laid out neighborhood. We're committed to doing tree preservation on the site. We want to keep as naturally existing landscaping as well as add landscaping as detailed in the PUD. We are more than willing to work on this short and long-term rental commitment. Third car garages were something, I can't remember if they were brought up at council, but each one of these homes, the way we've laid it out, could have a third car garage just based off of setbacks and kind of the size of our homes. And we believe pretty much each lot could have a third car garage if that's what the homeowner wants, but a minimum of 10 of the homes, so about 10%, actually a little over 10% would be third car garages. We are going to do that perimeter path along 200 West to kind of keep that trail connectivity. I know there was ideas floating around there about how we would connect in. I think the solution that we heard that seemed to be the most favorable was to have the straight connection along the road along our eastern boundary. So we would be doing that. And again, we are donating $500 a lot for this park donation, which was discussed earlier. And we would be doing a traffic impact analysis probably sometime in January. We don't want to kick that off too early before, we want to make sure we pick up all school traffic, all natural, all the traffic that actually occurs out there. So we would kick that off here probably in January, and whatever recommendations that report comes back with, we would be doing. So I think that's all I've got from my presentation. So if you have any questions, we're here to field those. Thank you.
The traffic study has both sides, right? Fortville Pike and 200. It'll be on both. Okay.
Yeah.
Were you guys able to get with some of the homeowners that had some questions at the planning commission?
Yes.
Resolve any of those?
We have contacted them. I think we were discussing going to meet with them after the rezone, and specifically the two individuals I've reached out to. I've spoken to the individual directly across from our eastern entrance, and we'll work to a lot of this will come down to what that traffic impact analysis says, and so don't have quite the full specifics there, but definitely has our contact info, and we'll definitely be in touch with him. As well as I've emailed the individual in the northeastern corner there that has the wooded lot there. We want to make sure that we're as good of neighbors as possible. So we'll definitely work through any issues or concerns he might have.
Okay.
On the traffic impact analysis, every morning our officers have to stand out there and direct traffic to get cars in and out of the intermediate school.
Sure.
And with that going in there, I'm sure that's going to be a lot of homeowners trying to get out while we're trying to get people in and out of school. So if you could just kind of cater that to mornings and afternoons when school's in session, because that's already a struggle for us.
And that's why, again, we want to make sure we're not, doing it,
On
November 25th,
Christmas break.
exactly. So we want to make sure we
Thank you.
account for all that.
I've got a few questions if I could. As far as the connection road between the school and the subdivision, did somebody request that?
Yeah, we met with the schools, I think in between council and plan commission, and they had said that was maybe something that they were interested in.
Really? Okay.
So we still need to kind of talk about how that would look, but we're definitely willing to work with the school. If we were to do that, there's a few different solutions we had talked about, maybe making it a private road and deeding it to the school so that they could control access to that. So maybe if they want to put up a gate, so they could do that. And they seemed more than willing to go that route, or we just really need to get more into the specifics with them on what they want and why they want it and figure that out.
I guess I was surprised to hear that they were the ones interested in it because from the street department's point of view, I think that'd be a little problematic, but if they can put a gate up or, chief thinks it's something they can manage the traffic. I just hate to see people using that as a, cut through. And if, the kids are in a hurry to get out of there real quick and they're going fast through the neighborhood rather than getting out on 200 or Fortville Pike, like they've already got the traffic control out there for that. So.
What's the bus?
I think that's how they saw it, was great access for their buses and be able to get their buses out in the morning.
Okay, and the other question I had was on the name. I saw you still had Vernon Woods on there. Have you guys come up with another name?
Yeah, we're working through names. Where I think we have one. Iron Brook is what we were thinking. But we're still working through those final sites. So I think I did leave one Vernon Woods mentioned in there. I meant to change those all to just the PUD name. So we know that that's a platted subdivision, I guess, around in the area. So we certainly want to stay away from that.
Okay. And then earlier in the conversations, we talked about those Verkada cameras
Yes.
going in and out.
Block
Is that
cameras.
something that,
I believe it's in the PUD.
has, block cameras, I'm sorry. Verkada is what we have here. That is in the PUD.
Yeah, it is.
I believe there's
Okay.
It is.
for that we're willing to work. Yeah.
And then I guess the last question I have as far as the rentals, because I know what you're proposing up there is no rentals for a year. Not knowing what we're going to hear tonight, I know Jerry's going to do a presentation as far as limiting rental properties going forward. Is that something what happens to this, I guess, if what Jerry proposes is more restrictive or less restrictive? Is that something that will be bound by what this PUD is calling out, or can it be maybe worded to where it meets whatever our future ordinances may be?
I guess our
Whichever's
stuff
more
would be
restrictive.
secondary to what the HOA is.
So I would think if yours is more restrictive than ours, yours would supersede ours. But I don't think we'd have an issue with throwing in some language in there saying, if it's invalidated by local law or something like that, then it can, if that's more comfortable.
The ordinance.
Okay.
The more restrictive. If you adopt.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't, having two different policies
Sure.
for two different areas. So very good. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adam, I didn't see this planning commission meeting. Did they say anything about the rental timeframe as far as the 12 months? What did they recommend? I know it was a favorable for everything, so I didn't know if there was any sidebars.
They seem to be amenable to a longer period of time, but basically said a year seems better than nothing. But if you wanted to do 2 years, that's even better. And then I think they ultimately kicked it out to you guys as to what you felt was an appropriate amount of time. The developer mentioned at the meeting that his belief was that simply 2 years was excessive and not needed. Again, I don't, from a planning perspective, I couldn't say one way or the other. 1 year, again, 1 year is better than nothing. So I'll leave that to you guys as to what you think is best.
I feel like what we do, maybe in addition to that, will curb that, and they can leave it at that, maybe. I think moving forward, though, it's it's verbiage that we can add in the PUDs when we come to an agreement on how restrictive we want it to be. I think we can maybe add a little bit more into the PUD. But like Alex said, ours is going to supersede it anyway. So most likely it's going to be more restrictive. So
What are some of the surrounding areas doing? Do you know?
Jerry's going to tell us all about it
Okay.
tonight. Yeah. You feel better with something longer?
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, at least 18 months, maybe, if 24 is too long. I don't know.
Feelings, gentlemen?
I just don't know how it's going with everybody else. It hasn't even been that long, has it? Has it been a year since anybody else has been doing that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think Jerry might know.
Have any of the other?
It's recent. It's recent.
Yeah.
That's
Have
for
any of the
sure.
other surrounding? Have any of the other surrounding towns, like let's say they have a year restriction, has it been longer than a year? So is there any data on? Yeah, I didn't know.
What's your feelings on it? You guys are you standing on your 12 months and
Yeah, I mean, I think the intent of it would be to keep, institutional investors come in here, purchase properties, right? And, I think us as, the developer, the home builder, we want to obviously meet the aims of Fortville, but also want to keep our customer in mind as well.
sure.
Of, balancing those property rights interests, right? So I think that's why we came to 12 months, because it seems, at least in my personal belief, 12 months, I don't see any of these, American Home for Rent coming in saying, we certainly don't sell to them, but they came into the secondary market or bought it from somebody we sold from. I don't see them sitting on it for 12 months. It's, having to pay property taxes, maintenance for it just to sit empty. Also, I think our price point kind of would probably push those type of investors out. But, so that's kind of where we came in at the
It
12
concerns me because it's so small. You know, you've only got what, 99 homes or whatever. So if something like that did happen, it would be the biggest part of the community if they come in and do that. That's my only concern because it is
Paying for the
small.
School.
Yeah, and being by the school, but
Well, just to take and cap it at that 10%, do a year plus a cap of 10%.
maybe that's what we should do just for this case, maybe. Or do we think 10% is too high for something that small?
Be 9 houses.
Yeah, I think it'd be all right.
Yeah.
Jonathan Isaacs, Director of Land Acquisition with MI Homes. I want to point out some of the most important things that are in that language, whether or not it's 12 months or longer. But the significant situation there is providing the home buyer with a relief valve if they get into a situation where they lose a job, they get a job transfer, the market is not conducive for them to sell, and they would have an opportunity to rent to get through that time period. Maybe it's someone that's in the military that is going to be gone for 2 years, but they're going to come back. So you want to, that's kind of where the fair housing portion of this comes in. And I want to make sure that's not lost, especially in your future discussion with restrictions, just placing a percentage on it or just a sheer number. There still needs to be some kind of a relief system in play. We have agreed up to 24 months in another community. So from a legal perspective from our corporation, I have that ability to go to 24 months. But again, it's really what is the intent here. And I know you guys are talking about, a cap of 5%, 10%, whatever it is. As you have that discussion, just keep that in mind that the homeowner needs to have some kind of a safety.
Well, you have some exceptions in this anyway, right?
We do.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I saw that, and I'm okay with that.
And that's
Yeah.
why we have those exceptions.
Sure.
Is give our homeowners association some parameters to function in and give that relief. So if it's the will of the council that 24 months is the magic number, I think we're willing to take it to 24 months. That would be the outside. That's the outside authority that I would have, to give month wise. So, 12 months, I do think, doesn't get that institutional buyer to want to buy. 24 months, it's probably just a little bit extra oomph, to that. And our business model, we will not sell to an institutional buyer. So that our goal is for home ownership. So I'll leave that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts trying to keep government as much out of it as possible, not on,
Yeah, I get it.
keep the boot off of them, but
Yeah.
just enough of a barrier to make it less attractive to, those institutional buyers. So
Should we compromise at 18?
year and a half.
I'd compromise.
Well, I mean, do you guys have any data for the 12 months? I mean,
What'd you say?
you were kind of saying your feelings and stuff.
Sure.
I mean, like I said, through just your professional,
Mhm.
dealings, have you seen the 12 months as pretty good deterrent for this, or?
Yeah, I would. So I've only been with MI for going on a little under a month. In previous roles, I have seen 12 months is usually what. I mean, but maybe John is better.
Historically, our problems have ironically been in the short-term rentals. Not so much in single family, but in attached product like townhomes. So we, 2 or 3 years ago, we voluntarily said to ourselves, no short-term rentals ever less than 30 days period, because we find that in certain situations, the wrong clientele ends up being there one night at a time. Not saying that everybody that rents a Airbnb is a bad person. I rent Airbnbs when we go on vacation. So, but we have had some bad experiences there, and we've eliminated all of those bad experiences from just eliminating those short-term rentals. As far as long-term rentals, our standard language is a 12-month period as a minimum, and that has resolved a lot of issues within a community. So again, no leases under a year generally eliminate a lot of problems. This is just an extra step to say, well, you can't even rent a house unless you've owned it for a little bit of time, and that just emphasizes the fact that we're here for home ownership. I don't know if that's 2 years, 1 year, 5 years. I live in a community that adopted a standard a year ago. I think they went 2 years. And of the 6 or 8 homes that were sold, 0 went to institutional investors. We didn't have an institutional investor problem, but we did have people that were buying one-offs to become landlords of like single homes. And no one has bought homes in my community, since then. So that's not really a scientific answer, but.
Well, at least having some out for the homeowners, for hardships and stuff like that, I think it's good.
I like the 18, I think.
I can compromise with 18.
Rich, you have an opinion?
I know, because we're gonna go over what Jerry's saying anyway. So that's what we're talking about now is minute what Jerry's gonna be talking about. So maybe we can move forward, but then Alex said the towns supersedes what they've got.
Okay. I guess we're looking for a motion then, and if you want to change 18.
I think I've got approval to do that. So
Okay.
Do they need special wording in it then do I need any special wording in there for the 18 months, or would it be based on what we determine?
Yeah, just say, if you're inclined, propose that they have to revise the proposed zoning commitments for a period of time, or 18 months instead of 12 as shown.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 2025-11B with maybe changes depending on how the vote goes later on the 18 months versus 12 months. But I'm okay with everything else.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Should I go ahead and sign this, or should we wait? Yep. Pass it this way. Okay.
When everybody's signed.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, up next, we have in old business to consider the second reading of ordinance number 2025-11C, the 2026 salary ordinance, presented by Joe Renner.
Okay, we've got the updated ordinance there in front of you this evening. This is pretty much the same ordinance that we brought before you at the last meeting for the first reading. We did make a few modifications to, as requested by Councilman Pence. We added the part-time, made it a little more obvious, I guess, because I think it did say in the paragraph above that they're non-full-time, but anywhere that we could clear it up so there wouldn't be any questions as far as part-time, we did add that to those positions that cleared that up a little bit. And also in the positions down below, we had Don Bowling's name still in there, but he has since retired medically, so I did take his name off of that. Other than that, it's the 5% that you saw at the last meeting with the additional bump for the police officers and the street utility.
If I may, I have a few concerns with this that I was hoping maybe we could talk about tonight.
Okay.
The proposed budget doesn't match what this ordinance does. I mean, we proposed for the entire police department to get the 12.5%. We have the chief not receiving that. With that being said, you're going to have a second in command that's making more than the first in command. Also, we didn't budget for the street department employees raise. I know we can do an additional appropriation, but I think that's a little excessive. Again, these are just my concerns. This wasn't in the budget, so, or was and wasn't.
You're talking about the utility department. You think that that increase was excessive?
To the 2863, the pay raise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you remember, I brought that up at the last meeting when we introduced it.
Yeah.
And I did reach out to Beth
Right.
and she said that the funds were there for that.
Yeah, like I said, we can,
Especially since, we did have several positions been open all year that wasn't filled. So.
I don't think that's a lot of money anyway for what they do, to be honest.
I don't believe I got a copy of that,
Which one?
the ordinance.
It's not in there?
No.
I gave him, see if Libby's got one.
I don't know where it's at. It might be in there. It might not. Fritz, did you get one?
I don't think so. Hey, mate. No.
Should have been right after that, in your stack,
I
right
wrote
after
these
the
together.
ordinance we just looked at.
I had
That's
two of
it.
these.
That's it right there.
Okay, we're good.
That's it. Yeah, he's got
Yeah.
it. So something that we've talked about doing too, and I think this is what to address Patrick and even Joe at this point is to we don't really have a good way to evaluate them. There is no way, as far as I'm concerned, on what they do. And I think moving forward that we're talking about getting an outside source to come in and do evaluation on those two positions so that we can support that and be able to answer to the taxpayers too as to why that, I already know that Pat is not anywhere, he's not near local, he's still underpaid according to some of the local connecting towns and that are our size.
Mhm.
So, same with Joe. Obviously it's just, if the money's there, it can be done. But I think that we need to do that to be responsible about how we do with the management, because we don't really have any tools to do that. None of us are here to see them. We only know what they tell us. So it's hard for us to make a decision. And I would feel a lot better having a source to look at it, not to dissect their department, but just to look at them individually, to bring a recommendation to us. And personally, like I told Pat, I feel like it needs to go to the police commission, and the police commission needs to be able to advocate for him when it's budget time for what the police department and himself should be to get. So he needs that support too. Joe, on the other hand, only basically has us. So, but I think it would be well worth and benefit to us, and also to be open with the public on that they know that we've done our due diligence to say, hey, this is really what they should have, and try to get it right if it's in our budget to do that. You know, we're obviously moving forward, we're going to get less. We're getting less, at least this soon, than what we had before. So we have to be very careful about what we do with that. So I understand too that it was included in the budget, but I don't know that we can justify it, is what I'm saying.
Okay, how do you justify your second in command being paid more than your first?
I don't,
Okay.
but I don't disagree with that, but I also know that in some of the others, you know, it's very close. There are a couple other that it's very, very close. I mean, I'm talking within a couple $100.
Which one is considered second in command?
Well, I was talking about Mark.
Okay, Mark he's been here what 30 years? So he's got a lot of longevity. And then he also is not part of the police pension fund.
Right.
So he gets a bigger bump because him and Diane do not get funds put into their retirement fund. So they always got another bump. You know, they get civilian bump. They don't get that extra bump for the
Yeah, they
police
get them put in, but it's not the same as the regular police officers, right?
right.
Okay,
So that's where that difference comes in. So Mark may show that he makes a little bit more in his check, but the other officers are getting it in their retirement fund.
okay. Is there some way, like, can the police chief receive the specialty pay that the officers get, and you?
I looked into that too, but I don't know that that's something that's common, the specialty pays, because he's chief. But I guess if he did something,
If he has the training.
right, and if he uses that training like obviously, yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that, because I know there's other organizations that don't pay specialty pay to the chief either. So I'm trying to just base it off of what little bit of research I did in a very small amount of time.
Mhm.
So
We have to make a decision tonight.
Yeah, if we don't pass this ordinance tonight, it reverts back to this year's rates.
Well, and the other officers, their raises are just kind of basically a market analysis raise, right? Like just what the market says.
Yeah, yeah. But again, why wouldn't you apply that to the chief when it's in the budget? Again, I get the whole, evaluations and things.
I will say too, though, this is another thing. We talked about this to Pat, but the discussion at the budget meeting was never about him. It was really about his officers. He was there to advocate for his officers.
Sure.
And, it wasn't him advocating for himself, which he's not going to do that anyway. That's why I keep telling him that he needs to have the commission advocate for him so that we have a position. Otherwise he's got to advocate for himself, and he won't do that. So, but it wasn't really discussed like that in the budget. If Pat had said, I got to have this, it would have been a different story. I think Beth just put it in there because she assumed that he was part of it. But we didn't really discuss it, did we? I don't recall discussing Pat at all.
I assumed that it was.
Did we discuss you, Pat, or was it just the officers? Yeah. So, I don't know. I can't say that I disagree, because I do think he deserves it, but I don't think that we can I mean, I don't think we can justify it without something to back it up. I don't know everybody else has a voice up here. I'm the only one. So just speak up. What's your feelings?
And I'm not trying to harp on any portion of this, but it was in the budget.
Sure.
And the street employees raise was not, and that's like a 24% increase. But you guys are okay with doing that when it's not in the budget?
What's the
when there's
24% increase?
whatever the increase was from this last year's pay to this, it's over 12%.
You said 24.
I know, I thought that's what it was.
No, it's about the same percentage what the police officers are getting.
Okay, sorry.
It's 13 or something in it. 13.
12 to 13. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again,
I see where you're coming from. I'm not criticizing what you're saying. I mean, I think that both of these departments need to be paid better so that we can keep our people, and we have a great police force, and I don't want to see any of them leave, and I don't want to see Pat leave for money somewhere else. I get all that. I mean, I'm in total agreement with that, but I feel like we need to justify it somehow. I know that when they figure budget amounts, you don't have to spend it all, but you try to spend as much of it as you can. Obviously.
Well, I'm just coming in kind of halfway through this, like,
right.
so, like Joe was saying though, like you had the one officer that's making, you said more, or at least bringing home more. So how would you, I guess, offset that due to his longevity and stuff? Like, how would you then, show that, I guess, or
Offset.
well, I mean, so if he's been here for 30 years, and if you just had new hire or new chief or something, you may have your guy, 30 years that make it more than the chief potentially, I guess is.
I think you would be hard pressed to hire anybody for
Yeah.
what Pat makes right now.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, yes.
I don't think that, I think that would probably be a non-issue. That's just my opinion.
We don't have the money just to write a ticket and
Yeah.
get him to pay what he's really deserved of. And none of these guys we do. That's the sad part, because I'm totally in support of what they do and what their risk is, regardless of whether he's chief or not. I get that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I agree with that. But I just keep looking at the taxpayer side of it and what could be said or what is, the possibilities there. So I just wanted check and balances. So if we don't do it this year, we might do it next year. It doesn't, if we don't use the money in his budget, it'll still be there. Right?
Yeah, unless it's used for something else.
Use it for something else.
No, unless it's used for something else. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, that would be up to him. That would be up to Pat.
well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of, like I said, having police commission or somebody, being able to evaluate the top guys, having a third party or something.
He needs somebody to advocate for
Yeah.
him. I mean, I'm convinced that that's the best way to handle that. Because there is no questions then. The taxpayers aren't going to question it. There'll be no question on.
Great paper trail.
Yeah, we just can't just say, okay, I want to get, because I'd be the one to say, okay, I'll give it to him. But, it's
Has
really
it ever,
not.
has it ever been brought up in the police commission?
No, but it's going to. We need to have that discussion because I feel like that's what that organization should be doing.
I'm not willing to vote on this now. I wasn't even aware that this was gonna be an issue on the last night. Is there any way we can't table this till next Monday?
No.
So we can look and bring everybody back, so I have time to, you're asking me to make a decision on something that I have nothing about, and this is the first I've heard of it. Was there any discussion and?
Well, it was in the budget. The raise for him was in the budget. The raise for the street department
But I did not know
wasn't.
that, I did not know that there
So-
was gonna be some issues. That's what I haven't had time to evaluate what you guys are talking about.
Missy is advocating for Pat.
Okay.
So, she just, and I understand that,
And regardless if it would be Pat or anybody, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yes,
and again, you have a parks manager that's gonna be making 7 cents more than a street employee coming in first day,
yeah,
an hour, 7 cents more an hour.
it's,
It doesn't make sense.
We talked about that at the last meeting as well.
Yeah.
The Parks Department is one department. Street and utility guys take care of the water, the sewer, the streets,
Right.
storm, all the neighborhoods, this building, everything, and go out and help out the Parks Department. So, and I would be more than happy to bring the Parks Manager in to the Street Department if he's willing to make that jump and he's got the opportunity to make those funds as well.
I'm okay with the utility guys' money because this is not a lot of money for somebody that does what they do.
Against that, I'm just
Right,
saying. it.
right.
You guys.
Right. But it can be appropriated because I talked to Beth about that. Yeah.
Absolutely, I did too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm good with that. I mean, honestly, I've sat here and said that I don't know what the taxpayer will say, but I'm okay with it. If everybody wants to stand on that hill and give it to him, then I'm okay with it. Either way, but I still feel like we need to justify somehow with the taxpayer when you're talking about that level of management, just like Joe. Same thing.
I think we have to vote on it. I think it should have been brought up at the first reading. Personally.
Well, that's probably my fault. I
First
should have
reading
done
would
it.
be
I should have brought it up. I knew about it. I didn't, because I thought we had it taken care of. But yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve second reading of ordinance 2025-11C as it is.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Motion carries. Thanks for speaking up, Missy. I appreciate it.
Sure.
But we're going to address it. It's coming. Okay, next up, we have new business. Council will consider the first reading of ordinance 2025-12. A,
It'd be a yes.
okay, a voluntary annexation of 4 parcels totaling approximately 138.16 acres west of Deaton's Business Park, south side of 1000 north side of the railroad tracks along US 36, Singh-Wright-Petty Properties. This will be Adam.
All right, so for this particular item, always important to note that it's a voluntary annexation. There is a home builder that has some of the property under contract right now. Fairly soon, that information should be public as to who it is and what their plans are. Of course, we'll have to go to the Plan Commission. So much of the land would be purchased by this home builder, and then the remainder of the land would be at the Singh property, and a significant portion of the Wright property would just remain as is. They were brought in willingly in order to get the contiguity that's needed. So for this one, you'll have to have a public hearing. What we'll do is we can move on to the other 2 items as well, and you can do one public hearing if you'd like to basically allow the public to comment on the 3 annexations. So this is the first of 3 on the agenda tonight.
Do we have any public comment on the first one? Okay.
But we have to do a public, we have to reset. We do the first.
We're going to do them all 3 at the same
Yeah, do them
time.
all 3 at the same time.
Yeah.
He'll cover all 3.
Okay, so
Then-
next up, we have the first reading of ordinance 2024-12B. a voluntary annexation of 3 parcels totaling 6.63 acres at 610, 620, and 630 West Ohio Street. This would be the Huck Minor subdivision.
Okay, so for this one, there are 3 lots that are owned by, each of the lots are owned by a member of the Huck family. And on 2 of the lots, there are 2 new builds. And then on one of the lots, there's a new home that's under construction right now. So they wanted to annex so that they could take advantage of the town's water and sewer, which of course is the biggest reason for people to annex. So if you have any questions on this one.
Yeah, since the sewer is right behind their house, would that just, it wouldn't be, never be where they connect.
Yes. Yep. For Huck, the 3 Huck properties. Yeah, just recently, I think we gave them the in-town rate so that they would be able, and then with the understanding that they'd have to annex to take advantage of that, but they were on board with it, so.
When that subdivision went in on the north side of Ohio Street, they went through that property and they stubbed out where those properties as they went through.
Yep.
Public comment? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Next up is first reading ordinance 2025-12C, voluntary annexation of 1 parcel approximately 0.06 acres along the west side of Fortville Pike, south of Mount Carmel Primitive Baptist Church, the Rice Ross property.
And then for this one, this is almost like a cleanup measure. You know, where the church property is on Fortville Pike. At some point, they sold a very small portion to the previous landowner. And now the current landowner would like to reconfigure the parcels that she owns. And so there's this tiny little piece that can't be reconfigured because it's not in town limits. So it would just clean that up. But the reason that it's not in town limits is because the church is in the county. So.
All right. Any questions? Okay.
I'll make a motion to recess the council meeting and open a public hearing to discuss the 3 voluntary annexations.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we have any comments, questions, public comment on any of the 3? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and reopen the council meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Okay. So do we need to,
So now can we do all 3 of them for same motion?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve first readings of ordinances 2025-12A, 2025-12B, and 2025-12C.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Ryan. Okay, up next, we have the proposal by Jerry on the policy and rental restrictions and registration. Jerry Santin.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for having me and putting me on your agenda tonight. Jerry Stanton, Building Inspector, Code Enforcement Official for the town of Fortville. You should have in front of you a package that's similar to this stack that I have here. Your top page is a memorandum to the town council from myself. It's put together by myself and planning director Adam Zaklikowski and his administrative assistant, Sarah Waldron. Briefly, just to run through it, just for the record, at present, the town of Fortville has no specific absentee property owner registration or inspection process for those properties. There are no existing ordinances requiring for the registration, inspection, or enforcement of interior, and that's important, violations for rental properties. Substantial increase in development within the town's boundaries has recently caused more than a few inquiries from out-of-town companies regarding Fortville's property registration and owner registrations, which currently none exist. Fortville's code and zoning ordinances contain no provisions for interior inspections related to health and safety complaints. Existing code and zoning ordinance cannot require property owners at present to provide specific contact information other than a post office box if they so desire. There's no current requirement for owners or renters to provide or maintain proof of any kind of insurance for the properties they own. New subdivisions are particularly vulnerable to being converted into large rental areas. My opinion is, and the opinion of our planning director is, that implementing a 5% cap on those rental properties in subdivisions should be part of this local ordinance. My personal opinion and experience is that 5% is more than generous. Ordinances compelling owners to maintain their properties would allow town code officials to coordinate more effectively with other agencies such as the Board of Health, local fire department, the police department, animal control, child protective services, adult protective services, and most state agencies, including IDEM. Other jurisdictions that were contacted by myself and Administrative Assistant Waldron, you see the list here, and I provided 3 of those from Carmel, Fishers, and also Valparaiso. Obviously, the 2 from Carmel and Fishers are close to us. The one from Valparaiso is up, well, we all know where Valparaiso is. And in my opinion, their ordinances are pretty much what I think we should look at as a basis for adoption of an ordinance should it come to pass. The second page you should have in front of you is a prototype of the registration that we put together. You'll see on there, if you page through it real quickly, all the owner information that's required. It says specifically no post office boxes. Now, that may seem harsh to everybody here, but the reason we put that in there is time and again, here in Fortville, other jurisdictions that I've worked in, when you go to contact owners, when there's a problem, you have a post office box. And when I track the post office box down, it turns out to be a rental mailbox at the local U-Haul. We have no way of getting in touch with these people. But we try to cover our bases as much as we can for these rental properties. The reason that I would like you to take a little time to scrutinize, you should have a copy of a case number that I had to deal with this spring and summer in Mount Vernon subdivision. That's case number 153. You should have a copy of that. This is owned by an out-of-town individual in Sunnyvale, California. This is a brand new house that was bought in the subdivision. Nobody has ever lived in this house. And since it was bought, it has sat vacant and has deteriorated and been overgrown quite some time. The HOA has no interest in helping out with this. I can corroborate what I've said if you look through the code case. Basically, after fooling around with this property for almost 7 months, we finally got it under control because we went out and cut the grass on our own. We placed liens on the property because of that. And if you drive by this property today, as of today, 1 o'clock this afternoon, you'll still see my notices, which is the only thing I can do, taped to the front door that nobody's paid attention to. To this day, the owner has not contacted me. I doubt that they intend to. Right now, we have nothing in place to compel them to do that. I think with these ordinances that if we sit down and put our heads together and come up with an ordinance based on what the information is basis for what we have here, and after consulting with legal counsel to make sure that we got all our ducks in a row, it would go a long, long way in helping me to counteract issues like this that come up. and they will come up. Now, if you have any questions about my experience with things like this, issues like this, feel free to ask me right now.
And I think just to clarify what the request before you tonight is to obtain your input as a council and direct the town attorney to craft an ordinance on rental restrictions and registration for review. So we, rather than throwing darts at the dartboard and trying to guess on different elements, or even if you're in support of the general notion of the policy, we wanted to get your feedback and take it that way through the process.
Yeah, I would love to hear from anybody. You all have my phone numbers. Call with any questions you have based on what's in front of you, any concerns you have about this. But I can't stress the importance of this enough. Since I've been here, there's been other properties that I would love to have been able to go in and investigate further. I'm pretty much hamstrung by the fact that I can't do that right now under our local code enforcement ordinances. They only go so far. They mostly pertain to exteriors. I know that there's been some properties here in town, not a lot. Thank God Fortville doesn't have huge problems, and this is a good thing. And this heads off any problems that I think that you might have or would help to in the future. I think that there's one property in particular that we probably could have taken care of a lot quicker if we had a little help along these lines. I think you know which property I'm talking about, Madam President.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions about any of this?
All this is just for rental properties, correct?
I'm sorry.
All this information here, this is just for rental properties, not for the entire community, I guess. For
Well,
everybody.
the rental property, we won't be able to discriminate against anybody. Yeah. Rental properties are rental properties. You know, the citizens of Fortville, even though they maintain rental properties by and large, in my opinion, in a good manner, they're still going to have to register eventually. This is for your own protection more than anything.
I like the idea of registering the property.
And let me give you an example, just one small example of why it's important for homegrown people that, you know, here in Fortville to register their properties for a nominal fee. You're out of town on vacation and there's a fire. We don't know who to call. Mm-hmm. I think, pardon me, I think Prince owns that property. Well, I'm not so sure. I think he sold that a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is going to require everyone to register their property for $50 and then continual annual registration fee of $15.
Only if they're renting.
Okay, well, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
This is strictly for rental properties only.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah, I thought that's what you were asking. Yeah,
I did. Like the whole town.
Right. Strictly for rental property.
Whether it's an individual or
if you were owning a rental property, you have to register as the rental owner.
Yeah, and the $50 isn't carved.
Not just every homeowner. Yeah,
Okay.
That's why I asked everybody here to take a look and see what you think about everything. These are figures that we put together that we think are reasonable. But
so all this means is if you plan on renting your property, you have to register it into this registration.
And this prototype of the registration application that I have here, I mean, it's worthless unless you have the ordinances to back it up. Am I right, Council? So those are two things that we're going to have to, that I think it would behoove people, Fortville, everybody to adopt. Probably the sooner the better. I'm not trying to play attorney, but time's of the essence.
Yeah.
The sooner we get to work on this, I think the better off we'll be. I want to emphasize too, the 5% cap for subdivisions that's in this proposal. Like I said, it's more than generous. You have some subdivisions out here, we all know, 200 plus homes, more 1, 2, 3. Now we have another 100 going up.
Yeah.
I have experienced in other areas where corporations, investment companies will come in and buy an entire subdivision. And they're all rentals. long-term, short-term, rent-to-own. We're doing your community a favor. We're putting people in housing that they couldn't otherwise afford because, we sell it on a contract. Not that everybody's like that, but the potential's there for it. I've seen the end results of what happens when you do this.
See, what I worry about when you put a percentage on it is you're almost guaranteed that that percentage will be hit. Like if it's a 5% cap, you're almost guaranteed that there will be 5% of homes in that neighborhood that are rentals, whereas
And like I said,
the time frame, it may not.
5%, in my opinion, is generous.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is
I
don't want any, but
I would love to hear the council's input. 1% tickles me to death.
no, I mean any percent. Like when you put a percentage on it,
Oh, at any number at all.
you're guaranteeing that percent will probably be hit. Whereas with the 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, never maybe will there be a rental in there. I don't know.
This is food for thought. Okay. This is something that, to tailor this specifically, now's the time to what we need and what we anticipate.
I'm all for something. I just don't know the correct.
So
You see what I'm saying? Does
Yes,
it make sense?
yes.
What I'm saying?
Yeah.
do, as we go through this process, if the council wants to pursue this and grant Jerry's request to have me work with Jerry and Adam and Joe to get an actual document with some terms, tailor some of the examples that we've got or that Jerry's given you to Fortville specific. I have concerns, and I'll look at this legally, whether the town by ordinance can restrict property owners as a governmental entity on you can't rent your property unless you've owned it for a year. It is a different thing altogether for the property owner developer to embed that into their commitments on the property for development, as opposed to the government.
That makes sense.
So I'm concerned. I mean, there are laws and there's precedent about what a government can do to restrict the ability of someone to use their property. So we'll look at that. If you want us to move through this process, I see a lot of heads nodding yes. Sounds like we'll be looking at it, but I'll look at that. And if there's a way to do both and to, by ordinance, have a time frame, we'll let you know, and then the council can decide which way they want. If the law says no, you can't do it, the best you can do is a percentage cap. If you want to go that way, then
Right. If that's the
we'll
best,
put
that's
that
the
in front of
best.
you
Yeah.
as well. But I want to make sure that
I just feel like if there's 100 homes and you put a 10% cap on it, you're guaranteed to have 10 of them that are rentals.
I hear you.
But if I don't know. That's just the way I look at it.
I think and we talked about this, or you guys talked about this earlier with MI proposal. It's almost like a belt and suspenders approach. Most of these developments are coming in with a PUD request or a rezone request. And so with Adam on the zoning side, having commitments that have the 18-month or 24 or 12 or whatever you deem appropriate and can reach the agreement, have that on the developer side, and then layer over the top an additional, the suspender. So that's your belt. And then the suspenders would be a percentage as well. And then the percentage would at least hit properties that are developed, existing properties. You sell your house and decide to rent it or move, whatnot. So it would cover that. But the registration allowing Jerry to go in and inspect, and we know who's actually renting. So yeah, I think from here though, let's get a actual proposal in front of you. Or maybe wait and let everyone, if you haven't had a chance to read through the examples of the other ordinances, and maybe send, Jerry, Adam, Joe, and me your thoughts on, I like this, but I don't like that. And then I can drop it into a draft ordinance for you all to further fine tune.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, I agree with Alex. That would be the time for all of us to kind of brainstorm, put our heads together and come up with the bestest and the mostest that we can come up with.
I think it's a good start somewhere though. Pick it, let him start so we have somewhere to start.
I absolutely
trying
think you should know who you're dealing with when you're dealing with the rental property. I mean, that totally makes sense to me.
I like that.
I could stand up here all night and tell you what municipalities, we don't have that much time. I will tell you that there are companies, corporations out there. They don't care. They'll carve your town up like a Christmas goose.
For sure.
They won't even think twice about it. And it kind of puts me off a little bit that we've already had inquiries about, hey, you know, from these people over the phone. What's your registration process down there? We don't have any.
Yeah, I agree. I think there needs to be a registration process too. I think we definitely need to get started on this sooner than later.
Wonderful. Well, everybody has my phone number,
Yeah.
you know?
So I think from here, I mean, Jerry and Adam, like Jerry's writing.
Yeah, yeah.
Valpo ordinance, and we're talking over the next week or so, get a draft. I can get that out, so then that first meeting of January.
I'm going to be on vacation this week, Counselor.
That's fine.
I'm going.
Go vacation. That's okay.
I think we're gonna need you to stay for the.
But to be clear, the
Meeting in
yeah.
January, if it, you know, have it on the agenda, if you'd like, and we'll have a draft for you to consider, and if it's in good enough shape that you want to take action on first reading, you can have at it, or if you're not quite ready, then we can keep the discussion.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks,
Sounds good.
Jerry.
Thank you. Thanks for taking.
Have a good vacation.
Yeah. Have a great Christmas too. Okay. Next up, we have Dave Thompson. Consider urgent request for funds to replace a control panel at the wastewater treatment plant and some funds for cleaning and repairing the North Water Tower. Hi there.
Dave Thompson, Superintendent for the Water and Wastewater Treatment. Yeah, I hate to be the guy to do it. Ask for some money here. We've been dealing with an issue at the headworks of our wastewater plant for a couple of months now. And it's to the point where everything's got to get replaced as far as the control panel. I've gotten 3 different quotes from 3 different companies, ranging from $54,000 to $58,000. And the sooner we get on it, the better. We're kind of hamstrung right now. We're down to 2 pumps. We're running off of our float system, which is a backup system. If we get any big rains, we're probably going to be in trouble. So
Yeah.
the sooner I can get on it, the better.
So what's the issue with the, what made it fail, I guess? Is it chemicals or?
It was put in when we did some of the rehab in 2012. And to be honest, it wasn't done right to begin with. And we've had to patch things over the years. And when this control panel went out, it also caused one of the VFDs to go down, which is why we lost that 3rd pump. So now we're just going back and forth between the 2. They're kicking on and off 300, 400 times a day. And that can't be good for them. So,
Yeah. Well, like I said, was it like some kind of chemical imbalance then that like ate at it? Or, I mean,
no.
I guess whatever the issue was, is it been fixed?
No, that's
That's what he's asking for.
the money will help fix that. It'll actually replace everything. So.
I will add that a lot of the work was done down at the sewer plant. It seemed like every time we've had work down there, the parts they put in, it was almost obsolete at the moment that they put them in there. So as soon as they put them in there, a year or 2 later, it was hard to get replacement parts and pieces.
Why is that?
I don't know. That happened that way.
Is that just the way it is?
Yeah, we're fighting that. And one of the other things was that they designed that to be a float system originally. And the elevation between the oxidation ditch and where that water's coming in at, it's just too high for that. So the only way we could fix it was we had to modify it so it was running off of a level sensor. That panel controlled the level sensor. So
That's the problem. Okay.
Well, we would have to replace this regardless. IDEM could find us if we didn't.
if
Oh,
something
it needs to be
Okay.
replaced.
on the bag goes,
Yeah.
We would be replacing it right now, but it's outside of our spending limit. So.
exactly.
What is the low bid that you got?
53,965, I believe.
And is this for the panel? Is there like Omni-Site or anything like that on it, or?
Not on this one. We don't have any SCADA or anything at the wastewater plant yet.
Okay. Looking for a motion.
Is the 53,965 the best option? Or, I mean,
That is the lowest.
It's the lowest, but is it the best is what?
yeah, I know it's the lowest. Is it the best?
They're going to be putting in some Mitsubishi BFDs, which I've heard a lot of good things about those. Everything else that they had on there looked pretty good too, and it's through BBC Pump, so we've dealt with them before. So
Got to be done though, right?
Yeah.
or
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the 53,965 for the wastewater treatment plant.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
one more thing.
One more.
As far on the water side, we've
Oh, that's
we're
right.
supposed to do a washout every 3 to 5 years on our water towers. We haven't done that since 2011. We've kind of put it off because of the plant was struggling and we had to build the new plant. We still keep inspecting it. We've kept a good eye on it. And everything's in decent shape, but it is going to have a washout here pretty soon. I was hoping to get it done this coming spring. I don't know if I can get things together that quick. It may have to wait till fall, but it's one of those things where we have to take the tower down for a couple of weeks and just run off of the plant in the other tower. That's going to be kind of expensive.
We need to do that when it's
Sorry.
down, when the
Yeah.
demand is down.
Yeah. What's that gonna, what does that do? What will happen?
Basically, they'll empty out the tower, clean out the inside of it, make sure the coating's still in good shape. They are going to make some minor repairs that have popped up over the last couple of years here. I probably want to get the north tower, which is one over here in town, done first, and then within the next couple of years, get the south tower.
So while all that's going on, does the pressure change and anything that the community's gonna notice?
It might drop a little bit. It's not anything you're
Okay.
going to notice. So,
No discoloration, none of that stuff.
no, it'll be
Doesn't
all
affect
fine,
that, yeah.
so.
Okay.
I think for the most part, what that'll do, it'll just make the pumps at the treatment plant run more frequent to
Mhm.
try to keep up.
What month did you want to do this in?
It'll either be early spring or late fall. So, yeah. And it's,
Yeah.
it's
Are there
rather
some,
expensive.
can we put a restriction on some of those subdivisions that they're not sprinkling at that time? Or
Well, it shouldn't be in the fall.
I don't know if we can restrict it.
about spring, they might be sprinkling.
We can't restrict them now.
Okay, all right.
We can ask.
We're trying.
About maybe like March or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, March would be perfect. Yeah, okay.
I'm hoping maybe the first part of January, start getting some prices and quotes from a couple of companies and see, get some kind of a ballpark of where we're going to be at. So,
Sounds like it's overdue.
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Have a Merry Christmas. Okay. Department reports. Joe.
I don't really have anything. I do want to say thanks to all the volunteers that worked on the holiday celebrations with the trees in the alley and the Winter Fest. And, those are the kind of things that make Fortville, I don't want to say unique. It used to, but I think now everybody else is starting to do it as well. And unfortunately, even on the same nights as we do them. But, I do want to say thank you to all the folks that are contributing and helping make that possible and making a great place to be in Fortville. Other than that, that's all I've got. Unless you have something for me.
Do not. Adam, do you have anything?
Nothing for me tonight unless you have questions on anything.
Patrick?
My end of year request of encompassing and earmarking leftover canine funds to go into the storage for future canines so we don't have to raise money. Like we do this every year. But Oscar's still kicking, but he is 8 years old now.
Mm.
So for a working dog, we're getting to the point where we're gonna have to start evaluating him year by year. So
That happened fast.
yeah, it
8
time
years.
flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
And then I also have unused equipment funds that were earmarked for our drone program. We've attempted to contact several, and with Indiana's blue laws, that changed some things up. And then now we're looking at anywhere in mid 2026 before we would even be able to get one, because everybody and their brothers jumped on that bandwagon too. So I would like to be able to encompass the equipment funds back into the budget, my budget next year, and the K-9 funds, just for those two programs. So I'd like a motion if you guys were so willing to do so.
So what was it again?
The K-9 funds and the equipment funds for a drone program.
Reappropriating them or?
Just earmarking leftover
Earmarking.
funds from 2025 into the 2026 budget to be able to spend that if we need it. And the K-9 one I've done the past 3 years, I believe. Because last time when we first started the program, we had to get a bunch of donations, and I just don't like going to the well that many times. And if we have leftover funds, I feel like we should just be able to earmark it instead of it get dumped in general.
I'll make a motion to use the K-9 funds and the equipment funds earmarked for next year's back into the budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And I don't have anything else besides I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas, a good New Year. Unless you have questions for me.
Oh, let's see left. Alex, do you have anything?
Just Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And if you have any questions for me.
I do not. Any public comment from our public?
Good.
Good evening, Bob Sterrett with Fortville Action. I just kind of wanted to second what Joe said. Our Fortville Action's trees on Main was incredible. Our goal was 22, 24 trees. We did 28 samples, threw in 2 more for FAI to use. We had to expand to the patio, which, we had asked permission to do that to begin with, but just was outstanding. We thought we were going to get 20, 25 people. We put it on Facebook. We had about 125, 150. They may have been coming from the restaurants and they just saw what was going on. But it was amazing. Scooters chipped in a thing of hot chocolate. The choir came from Mount Vernon. It was just really a good night, good way to start the Christmas season. Like I mentioned, Samble's Tree Farm, they've been fantastic to work with. This is the 3rd year for that. Fort Harrison Composite Air Patrol Cadets, they came out, there were 10, 12 of those, helped us put the trees up. It was just an amazing event overall. And I just want the town of Fortville, I really appreciate everything that everybody has done to make this, every year gets better. And it just was, every night I drive by to make sure the lights are on. But I think it's been a nice addition. It's a nice way to kick off the Christmas season. So
It's really pretty. It looks
I
very,
saw it on Facebook. I saw the event on Facebook. It looked pretty awesome.
amazing.
The pictures
Yeah.
and everything.
Really.
something you guys should do every year, probably have an event like that.
Yeah, that's our 3rd year.
It looked
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
Well, I mean, have people come and,
Oh,
Yeah.
we try
Yeah.
every year. And this
Yeah.
year, all of a sudden, they just showed up.
yeah, that's good. It was really nice.
The tourism support us. There was just so many people came out to help us, and it was just a good night. So thank you.
That's good.
Thanks.
Okay. Ryan, you have anything to say?
No, I don't think so. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
I'll ditto that. Merry Christmas. Have a safe, happy New Year. Yep.
Yeah, just Merry Christmas and be safe.
That's all I want to say to you is Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you.
Okay, I need a motion to approve and sign vouchers.
I'll make a motion to approve and sign vouchers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:59. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.